Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever are two of the most well-loved Beatles hit singles. They were released simultaneously in 1967 and are often considered to be part of the Sgt. Pepper collection, although neither song featured in the Sgt. Pepper album. The songs have captivated people all over the world, and in the presentation here I'm going to talk about the history of the area, the part of Liverpool that inspired John Lennon and Paul McCartney to write the lyrics. Liverpool is on the northwest coast of England, situated on the banks of the River Mersey. This map from 1858 shows that some of the areas that are well-known parts of the city in the 21st century were outlying villages in the Victorian times. Notice Wavertree to the southeast of the city. This is the location of Penny Lane. This pictorial map shows the rural nature of the land beyond the city limits. There's a railway line and a station on the right-hand side of the map. Trains arriving here will have passed north of Wavertree. This copy of an 1864 Ordnance Survey map, which I redrew from the original printed map, shows Penny Lane joining other routes at a large junction. The named buildings were all gracious homes of wealthy families, and it was a very leafy area, and tree types included elm, oak, ash and sycamore. The footpath shown as a dotted line near Hillside House was later to become the road where young John Lennon lived with his Aunt Mimi and Uncle George, after Mimi took custody of him away from his mother. This road features in the lyrics to Lennon's song In My Life, and there'll be more about this road later. As time went on, Liverpool expanded, and houses for working-class people started to be built to accommodate them. As the built environment grew closer to Penny Lane, its rural nature gave way to urbanisation. A second railway line was installed and cut across Penny Lane, as this 1894 map shows. By the beginning of the 20th century, Penny Lane was surrounded by houses for the masses. Public transport in the form of trams served the area, and the trees were decimated. This map is from 1909. This photograph shows the tram depot near the junction. A tram travelling towards the depot would be labelled Penny Lane as a way of identifying its destination, and the whole area around the junction became known as Penny Lane. The junction was named Smithdown Place, and by the outbreak of World War II, the tram depot had been displaced by buses. Newcastle Road, where Lennon's family lived, had been built in around 1910. The footpath seen earlier had been developed into a boulevard named Menlove Avenue. It was a middle-class thoroughfare. There were desirable larger houses with gardens. This overview of the area, which I redrew from the 1956 Ordnance Survey map, shows Menlove Avenue leading to Walton, where Aunt Mimi and Uncle George lived with Lennon after Mimi had taken him from his mother. There was a frontier at Rose Lane, marking a separation between the urban and working-class Penny Lane and the more salubrious Walton. The senior school that Lennon attended is the building marked near the Sea of Calderstones. This close-up view shows Lennon's house, number 251 Menlove Avenue. It's the building marked in grey near the L of Menlove. Significantly, nearby was the mansion known as Strawberry Field. It's the larger building marked in grey at the north of the map. Notice all the boundaries and trees and open land. Lennon and his friends had good times and escapades here, but there were bad times too. Lennon and Mimi had rows, and Lennon was prevented from seeing his mother. His mother was killed on the road in 1958 when she was trying to cross it. She was hit by a speeding motorist, and this had a great effect on Lennon and the later lyrics that he wrote. The growth of this part of southern Liverpool shows existing features being overlaid by newer ones. We see this when new blocks of houses show the shapes of old fields, or when new roads mark the line of ancient tracks. We see it as well when new street names hint at buildings that have been knocked down but used to be prominent features on the landscape. There are also some examples of the opposite effect, of old features being superimposed on the new. At Strawberry Field, the Salvation Army has renovated the grounds and built a visitor centre. The mansion was knocked down years ago, but they have put an old photo of it on a glass plate to give the impression of it being there, so the old has been superimposed on the new. This section of the 21st century pop map of Liverpool, produced by Quick Map Limited, and I have permission to reproduce this section, shows Paul McCartney and John Lennon, as they looked in the 1960s, superimposed on the new map. If you would like to know more about any of the things I've talked about today, please have a look at my article. Just Google the title and you'll get a link.